What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today is the continuation of Mixed Six Pack of the Month here on the channel. And the beer I'm reviewing today comes from Lawson's Finest Liquids, and they are out of Waitsfield, Vermont. And this is their Sip of Sunshine. So this is a double IPA, comes in at 8% alcohol by volume, no IBUs listed in time of review. This can is approximately 3.5 weeks old. So Sip of Sunshine, this is a beer that when it was first released over 5 years ago, it had a lot of hype behind it. A lot of people love this one. I did not have this beer for the first time until 2016. I actually had this beer and Double Sunshine at a bottle share, and I actually like this more than Double Sunshine. Of course, I was like 20 beers deep, whatever the case may be. But then I had it again in 2017. That's because in late 2017, this beer started getting distribution into the Western New York area, and when it would show up, people would buy it by the case. Any bottle shop that would get it, within a couple hours, it would sell out. People were going nuts. They were buying it for themselves, but they were also buying it to trade because, again, this had a lot of hype. A lot of people love this one. And the fact that we were getting it in Western New York and they just started getting distribution into, New York in general, yeah, people would buy this one and it'd sell out. Fast forward about 6 months, maybe 8 months later, and this honestly has turned into kind of a shelfie in Western New York. I can walk into almost any bottle shop in the area and even some grocery stores, like the Wegmans I bought this one at, and find relatively fresh 4-packs of this one everywhere. It's crazy. I can't believe this. Just because, looking back 5 years ago, I'd have never thought that this would have distribution into my area, let alone just sit on the shelves. I mean, it's like anything else that's hype. If you can't get it, you want it. And when it first started showing up, people were just buying it, like I said, by the cases. And now that we can get it and we can always get it fresh, it's not something people need to buy cases of. And I'd imagine it's not worth as much on the trading front. So a lot of people don't buy it because it's, they can't get as much for it, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, I really do think this is a tasty beer. I do enjoy it. This kind of always reminded me of like a East Coast IPA meets a West Coast IPA. Like you take the best of both worlds. This, is nothing like the current New England style IPAs or double IPAs, in my opinion. But yeah, this just has even though it has a short history, it's very storied, it seems like. And a lot of people have different opinions about this one. I've had this one, a handful of times over the past couple years, and I like it. I like it a lot. So the fact that I found it in a mixed 6-pack for $1.83 a can, probably not going to happen for most people. I lucked out, so whatever. We're going to crack it open. We're going to pour it. We're going to have a good time. Now this, I believe Sip of Sunshine, it says on the side here, I will read it before I pour it. It says, Sip of Sunshine IPA is brewed by Lawson's Finest in Stratford, Connecticut, Two Roads Brewing Company. And even though they opened up their new Waitsfield brewery in the last year, they still produce this one at Two Roads. So just thought I'd mention that. Anyway, let's give it a pour. So yeah, as you can tell by the pour here, this is not your current, New England style IPA. This is like people like to refer to them as like a Vermont style IPA. But at the same time, this doesn't even have the slight haziness or like look. I wouldn't even compare it, for me personally, like Heady from Alchemist. I just, Heady Topper and those, still think this has more of like an East meets West. But anyway, I poured that kind of poorly, but has this really nice like deep orange color. It definitely has some haze to it, but it's not like, New England style. It doesn't have that milky color to it. It just has a little bit of haze to it. About a 2.5 finger of a rocky looking off-white, eggshell white looking head. But yeah, I mean, again, this looks like honestly like a West Coast IPA, like a little bit of a hazier West Coast style double IPA. That's what it looks like to me. Let's get a nose. Man, and it kind of smells like it too. So the one thing, this is what I'll say about this beer, at least from a stylistic standpoint, I always felt like this was like a West Coast style IPA, but with more fruit character and like less of the resinous pine, which is why I think it's like a marriage of both styles. Again, for me personally, everybody's going to be different, but that's what I always got from this one. Lots of citrus, like a sweeter grapefruit, orange. There's like tangerine. I'm getting a little bit of like a tropical kick here, a little bit of stone fruit, like a mango peach thing. But more heavy on the citrus, I think, for my palate personally. Definitely an underlying malt base here that has like a bready sweetness to it, maybe a touch of caramel. And then over top of it, I get a soft resinous pine, like piney kick to it. Yeah, I'd say more like a resinous tone to it overall. Not exactly pine, but just like a resinous hop quality to the nose. A little bit of earthiness as well. Yeah, it just smells like a very well-rounded, cohesive double IPA. Like there's not too much of one character. Like I said, very cohesive. Everything blends together. There's nothing sticking out too much. It just smells really good. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. I like this beer a lot. yeah, it's so easy to drink at 8% too. So right up front, you noticed, or I noticed, I gotta stop saying my reviews. You notice. You might notice, but I'm the one doing the review, so I'm noticing. So right up front, I noticed that it has a really big, hefty malt base to it right up front. Sweeter bread, touch of caramel. As it passes through the palate, those like, has like a candied, not a super candied, but like a sweeter stone fruit and citrus, like a candied citrus peel, we'll go with. Like a sweet orange peel, candied like lemon peel, grapefruit peel, and then I'm hit with like a little bit of peach and mango as well. Halfway through the palate to 2/3 way through the palate, that resinous bite, like a piney bite, an earthiness from the hops just hit. It dries out the palate a decent amount. This finishes semi-dry to almost full-on dry for me. And then I'm left with like a moderate lingering bitterness. Yeah, just maybe even a low to moderate bitterness. So there's a bitterness here. Again, this is why I would not compare it to New England style IPAs, aside from the taste of it, aside from the look. Just doesn't have, you know, the straight on just sweetness and almost no bitterness that that style has. This one definitely has like a low, I'd say approaching moderate bitterness to it. Body's medium to higher side of medium body, 8%. I'm cool with it. The mouthfeel, it's not super effervescent, but it is crisp on the palate, and there is a nice smoothness overall to the beer. I can't tell you this is 8%. I'm not even getting a warming in the chest. No alcohol stringency on the palate. The thing is this isn't like a mind-blowing beer. Like this, I can see if you just gotten a craft beer in the last 2 or 3 years and you're drinking all the hazies and all the crazy New England style IPAs and the milkshake IPAs and this and that, you drink this one, you're just gonna be like, well, it's okay. It's a bitter IPA, you know, has some fruit tones to it and some pine, but this is kind of like what I remember. It's like, yeah, this is kind of what old school IPAs kind of taste like, but it has, I forgot who said this. It might have been Matt. It might have been Matt over at Massive Beer Reviews, because he reviewed this a couple years ago, and I don't remember pretty much anything at this point anymore, but I remember him saying like this kind of had, what did he say? Like it had like a new school approach to it, but it's still old school. And that's where I kind of land, where it's like East Coast meets West Coast. It has like some of the fruitiness you get from a newer New England style IPA, but you get the bitterness and the resinous pine quality from the West Coast style. And I think it just works. It's not an amazing, mind-blowing beer for me, and it never was, but I think people hear about this beer nowadays and they try it and they're like, oh, Sip of Sunshine. I remember what that beer had crazy up. I got to try it. Everyone says it's world class. Then they drink it and they don't realize how many breweries we have in the States now, 7,000 plus, whatever the case may be, and how many places are doing great IPAs and stuff. But 5 years ago, this was probably a world-class IPA, just like when people talk about Pliny. Pliny is still an awesome, well-brewed beer, but comparing a recipe that's 15 plus years old to something with all the hops and stuff nowadays, I don't think that's a fair comparison. Same thing with this, even 5 years ago. Some of the crazy hop variations and techniques and stuff 5 years ago was way different than it is now. So like taking this and comparing it to a brand new New England style IPA that was just released in the last year, I don't think it's fair to this beer. But anyway, I'm just rambling for no other reason than, let me just say that this is a well-brewed, well-made double IPA. I really can't tell it's 8%, so it hides the alcohol well. Has a great balance between the malt sweetness, the fruity components to it, and that resinous pine kick. It finishes proper. It's not too dry. It's not too sweet. And it has a moderate bitterness that makes me come back for more, because I want to kind of get rid of that. So it makes it infinitely more drinkable. The body and the mouthfeel are pretty damn nice for what it is. And rating on the Sip of Sunshine from Lawson's Finest, I'm going to go straight 4.25 out of 5, because I think it deserves it. Again, it's not something that's going to get a 4.5 or higher for me personally. I know there's some people that absolutely adore this beer, and I know a lot of people that just think this is like super overrated. Whatever category you may fall in, that's fine. We all have different opinions. I always say it in a lot of reviews, we all have different opinions and different panels, but everybody knows that, right? So when you watch a review like this, you know this is my opinion, and you might differ from that, and that's fine. But this is a somewhat of a polarizing beer, even though I don't like using that word, because again, beer in general is polarizing because we all have different palates. And I just mentioned again, even though I didn't say I was going, or I said I wasn't going to, I did. Now I'm confusing myself, confusing you, and making this review even worse. Anyway, price and availability. Price on this one, in my area, $15 to $16 a 4-pack, depending on where you can, wherever you can get it. Some places are cheaper. So $3.75 to $4 a can, well worth it in my opinion, for a beer that is just high quality like this one. And availability, It's basically a shelfie in Western New York. So wherever they distribute, you probably can find this one on shelves. Some people like in the Midwest or South or out West, you're probably gonna be like, well, I can't, find that. Well, yeah, obviously I get that. But like if you're in the Northeast or Mid-Atlantic, you probably see this one and you probably can get it quite easily. So yeah, it's overall a damn good beer. If you've had this one before though, comment. Let me know what you think about it. What's your personal opinion on it? Did you have this when it first came out? Have you tried this in the last year or two since they started contract brewing this beer specifically at Stratford? That's one thing I don't know. I don't know if I don't think they always contract brewed this beer. When they upped the production, they probably went to Two Roads, where a lot of people maybe saw like a drop off in quality or something. I want to say that the original can I had in 2016 was straight from whenever they brewed it beforehand, wasn't from Two Roads, but I don't notice a huge drop off from my palate personally. Then again, the first time I had it at a bottle share, so whatever. Anyway, long enough review. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review. This was the second to last day of Mixed Six Pack the month here on my channel. Tomorrow will be the final day. And yeah, I just can't thank you guys enough for the support. It's been fun, revisiting and trying a bunch of beers, trying some new beers and some beers that you can get. And we're going to keep it going starting October. So I'll mention that in tomorrow's review. But yeah, it's been a great time. So take it easy, everybody. Cheers.